I'm gonna do this review standing up because why not? You know what I mean? Anyways, so my hair's doing kind of a curly thing at the ends. It kind of looks like it's like flipping you off, doesn't it? Kind of like it's like. I'm not gonna do it. Don't worry, I'm not gonna flip you off. That would be funny if E.T., if his only finger that worked was the middle one, then they'd be like, "We don't want you here, E.T. Go home. Go ahead. We don't want you, E.T." You know what I mean? Like the whole movie's tone would just be totally different if his middle finger was sticking up at everyone, wouldn't it? I don't know. I was just thinking about that today. I'm kind of weird. Anyways, well, you should know by now. You've been watching my videos this long. If you're a subscriber, you know that by now that I'm kind of weird. But being normal is kind of boring, right? Who's with me? High five through the screen. Invisible high five. Okay, so I decided for this video I was going to do a movie review of one of my favorite movies of all time, 13 Ghosts. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Because sometimes when I talk really fast, I don't pronounce words correctly. I kind of go over them. And I don't know why I just did the motion like this, because it's not really, I guess just to, anyways, okay, let me go on. And let me go on. It's rated R. It's a thriller mystery directed by Steve Beck. And it stars Tony Shalhoub, a.k.a. the guy from Monk. Matthew Lillard, a.k.a. the guy from Scooby-Doo who played Shaggy, who made a really good Hot Shaggy. And he was good at not stealing the scenes from the dog. And vice versa. And no, I'm kidding. I'm not calling him a dog. I was just being weird. I just felt like that wasn't even a joke. I'll keep going. And Shannon Elizabeth, I'm not even going to say anything. Because I haven't seen her in many films other than just this one, basically. And it's like a remake. And usually I don't like remakes. But in this circumstance, I love this remake. It was originally based on a film from 1960. It was like a William Castle film, which isn't that a cool name to have, like a last name Castle? It just sounds cool, like with whatever he does with it, you know what I mean? And I believe back then it was by the same title and they had the same storyline. It's like you have a pair of glasses on and then you can see the ghosts in the house. Basically, they went with that storyline again, and this is going to include spoilers in this video, so if you don't like spoilers, and if you don't like videos, then why are you on YouTube? Basically, but I'll go on. So, as I was saying, this is one of my favorite movies, so I thought I'd talk about it, because it was rated R, by the way. I think I forgot to say that, and it's from 2001. It's called 13 Ghosts. And Matthew Lillard is one of my favorite actors, and he's in this film. He does a really good job of playing the electrician. The guy from Monk is really good at playing the guy not from Monk. In this film, he plays the dad character. I don't want to get into too much of the storyline, but it's really good in the beginning of setting the tone of the movie. Which is kind of differently toned, and it's really good. I loved almost everything about this movie. I loved the camera shots, the different camera angles. I loved the music choices. I loved the lighting. I loved the cast. Even though I've never met them, I'm sure they're awesome people, but I love the cast too. They did really good at picking the right cast members for each role in the film. And they did a really good job, especially with the lawyer. Oh my gosh, I really didn't like that guy, did you? Oh, he was so annoying. I was just like, man, he's too, you know what I mean? He's too juicy. You know what I mean? He's too, he's just something's kind of strange about him being too charismatic and being too kind of smooth and stuff. You know what I mean? Let's see, what else did I like? Oh, there is some nudity in this film. So if you don't like nudity, then who are you and what are you? But if you don't like nudity, then don't watch this film. It's because some people don't like nudity in movies, and there is some nudity. It's not like there are no sex scenes. I know that sounds weird to say, but it's true. Please believe me. Anyways, so where do I begin? Oh, it's hard to talk about when there's so much like detail that went into the actual making of the movie. There was one part where I was like, is this satanic or what? Because it kind of reminded me of Satanism, because they had that book. They had the 13 Ghosts in it and stuff. And I was like, oh, could ghosts be like AKA for like demons and everything? And because like some people, like everyone knows that, like, well, not everyone, but it's kind of not common knowledge that, but that demons tend to be like evil spirits that haven't passed on. So when I thought of like some of the ghosts in the house, I actually thought of actual demons. Like not like demons like by their names. Like, oh, that reminds me of what's his name, and that guy reminds me of what's his name, who's a demon too. No, they just because they were trying to attack the people, some of the main characters that were inside of the glass house. If you don't like glass houses, then you won't like this film. The beginning's kind of brutal, and it gets kind of gory. Yeah, it's kind of gory film early on. So if you don't like seeing blood, there was like a few parts of the movie that made me go, what? But like nothing that was like illogical that made me go like, oh, I can't enjoy this movie because it doesn't make logical sense. Because usually like in scary movies, like I'm not like that unless the character's like, oh, what's that noise? Let's go figure out what it is, shall we? I hope we don't get killed. You know what I mean? Like that's like one of the few times where I'm like, just get out of the house. Like it would just make more sense if you just like left the house and not like, but people are curious by nature, I guess, and that's where that happens. Anyways. And then the only other like illogical thing I don't like in scary movies is where they're making out and then the monster comes out of the woods or something, or the monster like attacks them, and it's like, dude, you're not a monster, you're just an asshole. You know what I mean? Like you're just a dick. Like just get out of the film right now. You know what I mean? Like it's just brutal. Anyways, but I'm glad that in this film there's like none of those scenes at all, so I didn't have to worry about it being illogical, because it made sense to me. Like when you're watching the film, it makes sense. Like even though like you don't really get a backstory of the 13 Ghosts unless you go to the special features if you have the DVD. But you don't, it's one of those movies where you don't need to know like all of the details in order to understand it. But having some of the details is like really good to know in order for you to get more involved into the movie. The lighting was really good. I especially liked the camera angle with the boy with the arrow in his head. And that was a very nicely done scene. And I liked how they had, I liked how they made something that, like a glass house, when you think of glass houses, like, you don't really think of how, what do you think when you think glass houses? You don't really think of scary things, do you? But they made it scary, like, because of what was inside of it, in the basement of the house. And it's just so, like, and I like how they had the themes about, like, greed in there. And then they had one of the characters in the movie, I don't want to get too much into detail, but he's just a dick. Like, he's just not nice. And you really don't like him by the end of the movie. And then when he dies, it's, like, extra satisfying. I don't want to say who that is because I don't want to spoil the entire movie for you if you haven't seen it. But I highly recommend you see it if you're a fan of, if you like gory films, or you like any of the actors that I just named. You really like this film. I liked, the character development was really good too. You really got, I liked how, like, you really got their personalities, and, you know, like, you really got, like, their personalities and their, like, attitudes, and you really kind of had you, like, have an automatic kind of connection to them, but it's more like because of what they went through, you kind of have a sense of wanting them to get out alive, so you're more like kind of invested into the characters that are the main characters in the film. And I thought that was really beautifully done too. The background scene in the beginning, I liked how the tone and just the mood and the music choice was really good too. How they set the tone with, like, certain music that they used. Or when the lawyer was walking down the hallway and it was, like, they did, like, this, like, music tone, but it wasn't, like, you know, it wasn't happy music. That would be kind of weird, but, like, it was, like, really, it wasn't loud music either. It was just, like very, like, discreet music, like how the lawyer was walking down the hallway, was kind of discreet and kind of suspicious because he's by himself and he's walking kind of slowly. So the music kind of like timed up with that, kind of. And I liked how it was kind of like in the dark, so it was like kind of an ominous kind of feeling when the lawyer was walking down the hallway, because he kind of is giving them bad news when you think about it later on. But it seems like good news at first. There is gore in this movie, so if you don't like gore, then don't watch this movie. I'm trying to think. I don't think I disliked any of the 13 Ghosts in the movie. I don't think I disliked any of the actors either, but by the end of the film, you really don't like one of the actors. They're all really good actors and actresses in this movie, like including the 13 Ghosts and the other main actors and actresses in this film. And I think they really did a good job by having like a little kid as one of the main characters. It made it more like you kind of want, your maternal instinct is like, oh, I hope that kid's gonna be okay, and you're kind of like on the edge of your seat, like hoping nothing bad's gonna happen to the little boy, because nothing bad should happen to like little boys or little girls, you know what I mean, in real life. So like whenever something bad does happen, you feel bad for them, you know. Well, I do at least. So I'm like, oh, I hope he doesn't die in the film, you know. But I don't want to get into too much detail, but the special effects were awesome too. The CGI, I think that's what they use nowadays. The special effects mostly were really good. There was one part that reminded me of like Satanism. It was the part where she's in the bathtub and it turns into blood. And I didn't know this, but at the time I saw this movie when I was younger, which maybe wasn't like a good idea when you're younger and you see this movie, because it might give you nightmares. I haven't done research on what horror movies does to minds yet. But that's something interesting to look into, though, now that I think about it out loud. If it does anything to minds, or if it, like, distorts them, or if it doesn't do anything, or if it's just, you know, just one of those things that passes by and doesn't stay in the psyche or the mind, you know what I mean? Like, there's this one book that was out there that called This Is Your Brain on Music, and I think it was a study of how this guy did, like, a study on, like, how music, like, affects the brain. I haven't read it, though, but I heard about it, and from eBay, too. So, or it was on Amazon. I forget if it was on eBay or Amazon, but I thought that was interesting. That's my arm. It's kind of pale, so that's why that's there. Because I'm holding this up. I'm trying not to, because I don't want the camera to move too much. Because I can understand how that'd be annoying for the viewer, so I'm trying not to move the camera around too much. What else? I got off track. What was I saying? Oh, the part where she's in the bathtub and she's naked, spoiler alert, and there's like blood everywhere in the bathtub for a few seconds or whatever, and like later on, a few years later, I was on YouTube and this guy was talking about like Satanism, and he was talking about like how like I guess something is like one of the things of Satanism, or one of the like aspects of Satanism, is when you take like a bath, but like you're like in a you're laying in a tub, and then you have like kind of like blood like in the tub, and it's supposed to symbolize your like your not rebirth, but your what's that word I'm looking for, like your initiation into either Satanism or something, or I forget how the guy phrased it, but I think it was like similar to that. And I didn't know that at the time when I saw the film, so I'm wondering if this is really a satanic film or not. So that's the other thing, too, because, like, you kind of think of Satanism when you're watching the film, at least I did, even when I was a younger kid, even before I knew that Satanism was even, I knew it was a word, but I didn't know what it was, you know, and especially with, like, the writings on the walls and the houses, with the Latin, it reminds you kind of Satanism, too, for some reason, because Latin tends to be in, like, certain, like, scary movies, you know. And, like, Latin just always reminds me of Satanism for some reason. I don't know why. It's just something I associate with it. Not saying if it actually is or not. I'm not, like, heavily involved into Satanism or anything. I just have a very open mind when it comes to different things that aren't my beliefs. And I can appreciate other people's beliefs without, like, dissing them for believing what they believe. But unless I'm making fun of them, like, but like in a teasing, in like a joking, like lighthearted way, not like in a mean way, you know, where I'm like making fun of them, but like in a bad way, you know what I'm saying? You know, like family members, and like they like can make fun of their siblings, but at the end of the day they still love each other, you know what I'm saying? Well, in some cases, hopefully, if you come from a good family, then hopefully you still like care about each other at the end of the day, like even through the bad things and stuff. Anyways, so see, where was I going with this? I kind of went off on a tangent again. Sorry. I really love Matthew Lillard as an actor. I saw him in another movie, but it was about, I forget what it was about, but it was kind of like weird. I forget, and then he was an SLC Punk, I think. And that was kind of more of a psychological film, I feel like, that deal with teenage angst, except they're like playing like, they really do look like they're older than teenagers in the movie, which I'm not gonna like criticize because like because like it's not the first time that's ever happened when an actor has played a much younger character in a movie. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna like get at them for that or like make fun of them for doing that or criticize them for doing that because it's been done before. It like High School Musical and stuff. I like if every high school was like that, there'd be no bullying. There'd just be all singing and dancing it out. You know what I mean? It would just be like a better, not better world, because like some people are tone deaf, and some people don't know how to sing correctly. And singing is one of those things where it's like you're either good at it, I feel like, or you're bad at it. But you can try and get better at it, but you'll never be like. It just depends. With everything, it takes practice. You know what I'm saying? Like with any hobby, really. That's another tangent I'm going on. Woo! I'm going on all sorts of tangents in this video. And what else how did I want to sum this up? There wasn't really any aspects of the film that I didn't like. Because all the scenes at first, they don't seem to fit together, but then towards the middle, I liked how they had like a sidekick in the film because it made it much more interesting, like with the character development and stuff, and it was like a cool supernatural element, like another like a supernatural element other than the 13 Ghosts to add to the movie to make it more kind of supernatural, like like otherworldly, like. So I thought that was kind of neat. And the flashbacks were really cool when he was having the visions as a psychic. When one of the characters was having visions as a psychic. And I really liked... Yeah, I especially like Matthew Lillard's character in the film. He was like my favorite character because of how his character goes through a... I don't want to get into too much detail if you haven't seen the film, but he goes through kind of like a character like development kind of stage where he's kind of different like at the beginning of the film, but then towards the end he kind of changes, but in a good way. And I like that. I mean, it's still kind of depressing though, like, and it's a morbid movie, like, so it's like it's gonna be kind of depressing to watch when you get invested in a few of the characters that are really cool and nice and stuff, and they're genuinely trying to help them out and stuff. But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. I really like the film. I'm glad they didn't make another one because I feel like some films, like, there shouldn't be a sequel to them. They should just leave it like the way that they are. You know what I'm saying? But usually I don't like remakes, but in the case of this movie, 13 Ghosts, I really loved it, and I would recommend it highly to people. It's like on one of my list of like my favorite films of all time. It's on that list. Like, it really is. It's really good. The special effects are really good. And I really liked how I haven't seen the 1960 film that it was based on, but I'm kind of intrigued to see it now and to kind of compare the two and see how they do. But I feel like I feel like this film maybe did a better job at portraying like the horror aspect of it compared to like the year 1960, because back then they didn't really have the type of special effects that we have now. So I might be disappointed when I watch the 1960s version, but I kind of want to, like, out of curiosity to see how it is. But I feel like I'll end up liking the 2001 version more when I think about it. It's just a really good movie, okay? Like, I don't know what else to say about it, so I'm gonna end it here. Have an awesome day.